Thank you so much, Danny, and awesome speech, Brianna. I really appreciate you sharing your story and being vulnerable with that. I also am a social worker, so I appreciate the space that you all are creating here for us to be able to speak and tell our truth, tell our story. So just thank you to everyone here today, and shout out to those of you in Arizona. Thank you for coming today. I'm Briana May. I'm an advocate for working families, a social worker by trade, and a believer in Christ. I think it's important to tell you what and where my ethical values and principles derive from. In life, many of us have heard the saying, when you get lemons, make lemonade, right? So I like preferencing that because lemons are actually a hybrid fruit. And generally, when something is hybrid, it means it wasn't necessarily supposed to come about. So I believe that everything happens for a reason. And during my matriculation at Shaw University, the best HBCU, I just found my voice ultimately. I lobbied state level and federal level representatives. I did rallies, I did protests, I did canvassing, much like Brianna. I phone banked and did so much more that really showed me what democracy work was, what it takes, and how much work it is. Man, is it a lot of work. So I just appreciate you, all of you on the ground doing the work in your respective states. I appreciate all the work you're doing. And ultimately, there's so many issues that are too big to even think about sometimes. And the Freedom to Vote Act is kind of touching on a lot of those things, a lot of the things we work so hard for every day to achieve in our states, in our lives, with our communities, with our families, our friends, and just expressing the urgency. And so our work never stops. We're always moving, we're always shaking, we're always trying to make a movement. And I think the best way to encourage a movement is to hear people's stories. So I'm happy to share my story today and hear others. And I just believe that as someone who represents city, state, county employees, that it's super important to make it known that without something like the Freedom to Vote Act, it's impossible to do the real work that needs to be done, which is giving people a voice when their voice should already be heard. And so I feel like just like that lemon, we have a duty and responsibility to make lemonade because it's time to sweeten the deal and it's time to make people's voices heard who have not had that opportunity. And much like Brianna mentioned, this past legislative session, there's so many attacks on voting rights. There were so many things saw in Arizona here with taking away Pebble, which is our permanent early voting list. And so many people are fortunate enough to be able to get their ballots in the mail on a recurring basis. And they're trying to take that away from people. There's so many people who love that and love that about the great state of Arizona. And so I'm hoping to just encourage anyone who has an opportunity to make the Freedom to Vote Act possible, to do whatever you can in your power. And hey, let's spread the love, let's sweeten the deal, let's make our lemonade.